The one thing that we all find a curse is attachment. Attachment to a desire, attachment to a person, attachment to pain, attachments to a way of being. We find this as a curse because we believe it's who we are and we think there's something wrong with us. But in today's video, I want to share with you how to break the curse of attachment when it comes to manifesting, when it comes to love, when it comes to a desire, and when it comes to the perpetuation of cycles that you keep reliving within your life. And lastly, pain. So stay tuned to the very end, because I guarantee you this video is going to transform how you'll be able to approach life and how you'll be able to learn how to master it rather than it mastering you. What is good, beautiful beings? Welcome back, awakened ones, on another episode on Embraces and Shares with your homegirl, Brittany Fontanez. If you're new to this channel, so glad to have you here. If you've been on this journey with me so far, gang, only love, you know who you is. On this channel, I am an energetic activator here to assist you to awaken things you have yet to see with your emotional awareness to go upon your spiritual evolution. Now, let's get into breaking the curse of attachment. Now, the reason why I want to share this video and talk about this is because I've been reading this book, It Didn't Start With You. And it's about how we inherit family trauma and how it shapes who we are and how to end the cycle. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, whoa. Attachment is not just within relationships. It's not just in manifesting. It's in the way that we are. It's the reason we are the way that we continuously allow ourselves to be. When it comes to, a lot of us don't realize we're attached to pain. We're attached to emptiness. We're attached to particular relationships. We're attached to the ways of working. We're attached to ways of how we think we currently are and how we cannot change that. Being attached to not thinking we can't change is a form of attachment. And as I'm reading this book, I'm astonished by the fact that there's nothing wrong with attachment, but there's everything wrong in how we view it. And that's why I want to talk about how to break the curse of attachment. Now I want to start off with why and how I came up with this topic. As I'm reading this book, I started to realize there's ghosts in our past, not just in our past, but in our bloodline, in our DNA, that want to live out their stories. Now, what's crazy is that a lot of us don't understand we are a particular way, not because of only what we grew up in this lifetime, but because of what has been in our DNA, meaning what's in our hereditary bloodline. And a lot of us don't understand that the way that we think, the way that we operate, really is because there are some ancestors trying to live out their life through us, or trying to end a cycle through us. Hence why the most important thing to learn how to break the curse of attachment is to be aware of the emptiness from thinking that you need something or someone outside of you. There's a story in a book about the guy. From a young age, he had the thought of feeling like he needed to die. Trigger warning, should have said that beforehand. And he had so many different plans on how to take his own life, and something always interrupted him. And his biggest plan was to try to go to the White House and cause a huge disruption so he could get shot down. And I'm like, whoa. And all of a sudden he went to Mark Woolen, and they started to realize that back in his ancestral times, there was a family member who actually was in the army, and he found out that they all were going to be desecrated, and he found a way to escape and left everyone for dead. So in a way, this poor guy was reliving a story within his bloodline. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this to the forefront is because, yes, there are things in our ancestral line that are affecting our perpetual cycles, that are affecting our attachments to addiction, to scarcity, to pain, to ways of being, to working at a particular job. Like for me and my family, most of my family, I didn't know work in factories. And I'm really good at manufacturing and electrical assembly. So I'm like, whoa, that's crazy how I'm kind of like reliving that type of way of work. I'm bringing this to the forefront is because we got to realize in order to break the curse of attachment, we have to really look at what we strongly dislike about ourselves. And that's the way to break the curse of attachment, is that if you're aware of it, and if you know somewhere in your bloodline that there's a cycle that you're reliving, then you're aware of it for a reason. And the only way to break it, the only way to actually find solace in it and acceptance to the point you can let it go, is by first realizing what you strongly dislike about yourself. Because one form of attachment comes from a way of self-hatred. And another thing I want to bring to the forefront is that attachment is a sense of abandonment. You are attached to particular things because in some way, some shape, you feel abandoned. So for instance, if you're attached to wanting more money, you feel abandoned, like no one's gonna help you, like God's not gonna help you. If you feel that you're attached to particular relationships or people, you feel a sense of abandonment because you think those people are going to abandon you, but really you're abandoning yourself. So if I want to get more deep into this, I started really thinking to myself, my biggest attachment at one time was to relationships. And I started thinking that a relationship was not only going to make me whole, but it was going to bring some form of stability. And as I got deeper into that, realizing I was abandoning myself for other people, I started to get really clear on how I overcame the attachment of wanting relationships, since now I don't really crave it, is that I really wanted a source of independence because my inner child relied on everyone outside of me and it didn't know any other way. So I was attached to relationships because my inner child was attached to people taking care of it. Even though it was destructive or toxic, I thought it was love. And then so realizing that I was abandoning myself, I started realizing, whoa, actually, I really desire my own source of independence. I really desire to be reliant on myself. I really desire not to no longer fear my true self. Because when I got in relationships or had them, I wasn't who I truly was or who I allowed myself to be. I wasn't vulnerable enough. So I would give up myself to serve other people because in that way I thought I would receive love. So in the way I broke that curse of attachment was that I don't want to no longer fear my true self. I no longer want to give up that part of me that feels so content and happy being single and happy being who I am and happy with rejection. The other thing I want to bring to the forefront, I think is very important, is that when we come to realize that we have particular attachments, we get so rooted into becoming like this world and we're forgetting that we're not just existing, we're actually here to relay something, resolve something, clear out some karma, actually bring a new sense of life to this existence and this world. When we forget that and we actually don't listen to that internal call, because all of us are chosen, just very few are willing to listen to the call. When we get so rooted in this world and we start getting down on ourselves and we start having this deluded self-concept of feeling unworthy, feeling unlovable, feeling like there's something wrong with us, and we get attached by how people's opinions are, how people's actions affect us, or how our circumstances should determine how we should feel and think, you gotta get deep with this, because in order to break this curse of attachment to all these particular things outside of you, really think about this anytime that something in your outer world starts to really affect you, and that is your ancestors fought for you to be here. And in your opinion, you may think, well, they didn't really try hard enough. They don't really care. I get that. Trust me. I get that, boo. But the fact that your ancestors brought you here, are you really going to let someone who ghosted you affect your self-worth? Are you really going to let yourself losing a job or a job taking advantage of you define who you are as a person? Are you really going to let your circumstances deteriorate your spirit Really think about that. Really think about all these things that are happening to you right now that you feel like are hurting you and not serving you, or disappointing you at that. Do you really think those things should have that much power over you, knowing that you're the source of power that created yourself to come onto this planet? Really? I just want you guys to sit with that, because that was a huge revelation for me to realize that all the things that I'm going through, all the things that I've been through, I let them deteriorate my spirit, when really my ancestors fought so hard for me to become such a self-aware person, an alchemist, a person who could transmute negative energy into positive energy, which makes sense why I'm such an optimistic person out of my whole bloodline, and was the only one who had the ability to take a lot of risk and try a lot of different things, to the point I doubt I will have a lot of regrets on my deathbed. And I'm like, whoa, they fought for me to be here. So the whole purpose of me learning how to break the curse of attachment is to realize I'm not meant to be like this world. I'm meant to follow in my own lane. I'm meant to carve out my own lane, but I'm meant to be an example of what I want to see in the world. So let's get into how to break the cycle, break the curse of attachment. Number one, like I said, be aware of the emptiness that you feel, that you think you need something outside of you that needs to fill it. Realize what you strongly dislike about yourself. Realize that attachment is a form of abandonment, meaning that where did the attachment come from? Try to get real clear on that. And what I did myself is actually I started to imagine if there's particular ancestors or particular parts of my life that really brought about that abandonment wound or that attachment wound, and really decipher it and sit with it and breathe with it and allow myself to feel whatever emotions, like bubbles coming up from out of water, just coming up to the surface, to allow myself to feel it and then allow itself to reveal itself to you and what it wants to teach you. Now, get back to a secure, safe zone. I know a lot of us may, and it's true, our comfort zone is our safe zone. But to break the curse of attachment, a safe zone is what allows you to feel safe enough to feel all of this. And if you're not the type of person who likes to feel your emotions, then that is when the true source of creating a safe zone for you is to become uncomfortable. And for some of you who are very comfortable with feeling, what is your safe zone? Is your safe zone being alone? Is your safe zone of being vulnerable? Is your safe zone of allowing yourself to cry, look at yourself in the mirror and cry? And do that, because you're giving yourself a chance to realize what needs to be broken. Now, another thing I want to bring to the forefront while you're learning how to break all these curses of detachment, of pain, and all of this stuff, the real motivator for this is, and the reason why it should be a process for you, not like a long process, but a process that we should implement, is doing all of this is allowing you to see how much more can you love yourself. How much more can you appreciate yourself? How much more can you appreciate life, regardless of what your peripheral vision is making you see, and what your five senses or making you vibrate at, regardless of all of it. If you could allow yourself to feel and become aware and face it, how much more can you love yourself enough to let it go? To say no, to say this doesn't serve me. I'd rather go through the pain of healing than go through the pain of continuous disappointment. And also, how humble enough can you be to be proud of who you are, but fierce enough to know you deserve more? That's a deep one. I'll say that again. How humble enough can you be to be proud of who you are and own that shit with conviction, but fierce enough to know you deserve more? See, I am a recovering people pleaser. I am a recovering attachment style type of person, not just in relationships, but in all forms of life. And I've learned that when you start to realize you deserve more, people will come at you like you're cocky or thinking you're full of yourself. Boo-boo, just remind yourself when that happens to you, when you start realizing your worth, is tell that person to go to therapy. Go to therapy, because that's a personal issue that they have. It has nothing to do with you. But you got to be humble enough to know that you don't know everything. And to know that you're willing to learn everything. And you're willing to correct yourself and put your ego in check. But you got to be fierce enough to know that your existence deserves what your heart is desiring. Humble enough to know that you're not the only one exist, but fierce enough to know that you deserve what your heart is yearning for. But in doing this, you learn how to attract and be loved without forcing anything. Because breaking the curse of attachment, learning how to be humble, learning how to be fierce, makes you create a neutral sensation. You get into a neutral balance to the point that you start to become magnetic. When you start to walk in your own lane, you start to not care as much. You start to let rejection be exciting rather than pitiful. And you start to learn how to attract and be more loved. For me, for instance, I realize in doing this and really recognizing all this, I have a lot of options, a lot of opportunities. I'm not even trying, and I don't even care. And I know I say that nonchalantly, but I'm saying it because I'm learning that in order to get what I want in life, it's not about being overly excited about it. It's not about ignoring negative emotions. It's about how neutral can I get to observe everything, but appreciate it without needing anything at all. Big eye opener. But also, you learn through this process that when you're not loved and when you're not liked, you start to cultivate love. When you realize that you're not existing to be loved or liked, your true curiosity comes from, how can I cultivate love? How can I cultivate learning how to like life, like myself, and accept that there are certain things I don't like without judging them? Because what you judge, you become. What you resent, you become. So instead of becoming what you resent and what you lack being aware of, and start to own and accept it, you start to be able to take accountability and responsibility to master it rather than it keep mastering you. So, and in the process of learning how to cultivate love, like I said, you no longer care about being liked or loved. You just start to come to a state of acceptance of rejection and acceptance of what comes easy to you. So, in breaking the curse of attachment, realize there's nothing wrong with attachment. You know, we are all interlinked and interconnected. We exist at the same time because we all have particular links to our chakra system. So we're all existing at the same time. There's no way we cannot be connected. But there's everything wrong with becoming very possessive and overly obsessed by things you don't have, by things you want. I guarantee you, if you can learn everything I shared with you and how to break the curse of attachment, you start to gain the confidence to realize you don't need to try hard anymore. You don't need to visualize so hard. You don't need to try to prove yourself anymore. If anything, you start to end up getting tired of wanting, tired of desiring. And then being in that state, you start to realize not needing anything or not wanting anything is such a peaceful place to be. Because that peace brings you no suffering. It brings you a sense of ease, a sense of relief. And I know that's all we are desiring, is relief relief of trying to control everything, relief of how is it going to happen, when is it going to happen. We all want that relief. So in doing everything I shared with you here today, you'll be able to gain that relief and to understand that life is not about having. It's not about wanting. Yes, you can have desire in it, but it's all about how can your existence be more than enough to feel like you can have the feeling of everything that you want right now without needing it. How would that version of you feel if it had everything that it wants? How would that version of you feel if you don't need anything at all? How much can you love yourself to try to do that? Other than that, beautiful beings, that's all I want to share with you today. If you found this video informative, if you enjoyed it, and if it brought a sense of activation or revelation, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit that notification button. And until then, beautiful beings, stay safe, healthy, blessed, and I'll see you on the next one. Only love.